Jeez. Bro, that is actually sick. Maybe I should get a new camera as well. This is not bad. Wait. Oh shoot, it's getting late. Should probably get cleaned up. Why did I even choose photography, man? Huh? Huh. Beholdeth people my legendary Sony NEX-7. That's so cringe. This right over here is a Sony NEX-7. It is technically the very first camera that I have used personally. By the way, if you may notice, it's already nighttime. I'm legit filming this at 9:46 p.m. on a Sunday. I actually planned to film a video at like noon, but I have an exam on Tuesday and I figured, yeah, I think I should actually just focus on my studies first, and I still haven't finished studying. So I am in deep shit. Now, I don't usually do reviews for cameras, but in case if you need some specs, let me hit you with some. This camera has a 24.3 megapixel APS-C sensor. It can shoot up to 1080p at 60 frames per second for footage, and for images, it can shoot up to 10 frames per second, and it has a built-in flash. I definitely did not steal any of those from Wikipedia. And the thing about this camera is that at launch, this was probably the best mirrorless interchangeable lens camera that you could buy. Back in 2011, this camera is nearly 13 years old. That's how dated this camera is. And the thing is, well, I mean, it's already filled with features that are quite old per se. I mean, it only has a hot shoe that can fit Sony Alpha accessories, and well, that's how far you can tilt the rear screen, basically. I mean, you can't really go much further than that. And I mean, even if I would say personally, in terms of image quality, this camera holds up quite well today. In terms of shooting videos, that's not this camera's plus side, because I mean, at some point, it can shoot footage more noisy than your neighbor's Civic, especially in low light. The thing is, this thing has held up its value quite well, which may be good news for me, but bad news for everyone else. So in technicality, I could have just sold this camera and bought, I don't know, something newer. But if that's the case, then why the hell is it still in my hands, you may ask? Because it's sentimental. Hear me out though, I would love to replace this camera with a newer camera. But the thing is, I just don't think I can let go of it quite easily, because I mean, there's just something about this that can't be replaced with cash, in my opinion. Because, well, this is the camera that got me into photography in the first place. I mean, this has been with me from the very start, back in the day when my photography still sucks, which I mean, it still does. But I've gone through a lot with this camera. In fact, this whole YouTube channel, it started off with this camera. And this thing has a lot of memories in it, and I just really couldn't let it go. And the thing is, sometimes I think to myself that it's amazing that I'm able to keep it in still working condition. I mean, sure, it's got a few scratches, a few dents and all, but other than that, it still works completely normal, and that's something abnormal to me, because usually I can't really take care of things, even myself. But otherwise, this thing has a lot of sentimental value, and although I don't really take videos or photos with this as much as I do back then. I mean, I already have the Sony a6400, which I'm using to record right now. I still keep it. I still like to use it to practice photography, and sometimes as a gimmick, I would just bring it to school for photography class, and I would just show everyone like, hey yo everyone, look at my very old camera. Because cameras like this is a huge flex at school. But the funny thing is that as much as I've gone through with this camera, I can't find any of the pictures that I've taken with this. And I would really love to show all of you the pictures I took with this back in the old days, but the thing is, I think I have deleted like most of them. And I don't really think that there's any way that I could recover them. Oh my god! Bros, I didn't even know these pictures existed on my PC until today. Basically 10 years ago, my younger childish self went on vacation with family to Japan for Christmas. And I think my dad brought this camera with him, and he immortalized every single moment we had with this camera. And back in the day, I didn't even know what the camera was. And in fact, looking through these images right now, it has recovered a lot of memories that I completely forgot myself. Like taking a picture in front of a NASCAR, that is me, by the way. Oh my god, look at my younger self. Back in the day when I didn't have any problems. Oh, I miss those days. Look at this picture of me in front of an Audi R8. Oh my god. I don't know whether or not to cringe or to cry out of happiness at these pictures, because these bring back so many memories. Putting that aside, looking at some of these images, and I want you to just take a look at them yourself. I mean, none of my family members are like professional photographers, but I think these pictures show that as old as this camera is, it can really take quite decent pictures, especially back in the day when it was still quite new. And in fact, it is a common saying for photographers, either as advice or maybe to conceal one's lack of self-confidence, that it's not about the camera, it's the photographer, which I believe to be partially true, personally. So a few hours ago, I decided for the first time in years to bring this camera out for a photo shoot. And the thing is, it was already nighttime, but I decided to just give it a go and see what we can do with this camera. Just see how well it holds up. I don't need good, perfect images. I just need to know how well does it do. And here is how that went. We're gonna see how this does, but the lens misted up in the car. It's not demisting, come on. Okay, so basically we're in this sort of shopping mall, and we found this little empty spot where we can take some pictures. And the funny thing is, when I took the NEX-7 out, because of the change in temperatures between the air-conditioned cabin of the car and the hot and humid weather outside, the lens began to develop a bit of mist. So you can see there's a lot of light diffusion going on in the camera, and that's not a good thing usually, but the mist has sort of gradually come down a bit, and now it just creates a little sort of aesthetic to it. So that's a good thing. Let's see, this looks nice. God. So what time is it now? It's 7 p.m. We still have time, we still have lots of time. Let's see, we should just bring it right over here. What does this look like? Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks so sick. Now, I am by no means a professional photographer, so I'm just going to leave the judging to you guys. What do you think about those pictures? leave a comment down below. But for me personally, I think those pictures actually turned out quite better than I thought it would, even though I had to go through quite a hefty amount of editing just to get the noise out. But I guess what this video goes to show is that, well, no matter what gear you use, how old it may be, or whatever it may cost, it's important to note that, well, photography isn't really about the gear you use. Besides, photography is defined as, well, basically the practice of taking photographs. I don't think people should be overwhelmed by getting the latest and the most expensive equipment for good photos, because, well, even if you have a more than a decade old APS-C camera like I do, I'd say with a bit of practice, you can still take some pretty decent pictures with it. And at the end of the day, I think what's most important is just for you to just go out there and do what you always do. I shouldn't be saying things like this late at night. Anyways, that's it for this video. I know it's short, I know it's pretty simple, but well, hear me out, it is already late at night and I just figured, man, I gotta make a video today. Anyways, thank y'all for watching and see you. Bye bye.